Our next speaker is Mr. Joe Engel, Holocaust survivor. We're so grateful to have you here, sir.
Can you hear me? Yes. First of all, I want to thank you all for coming. Who knows as much about hate crimes than I do, than we Jews do? Every hour, every day, somebody hates a Jew. I was till I got to the United States of America, I was hated. Till I got to the land of the freedom. And free for everybody, whoever you are. I was under hate under Hitler. When I was 9 years old, when he occupied Poland, and when he's been shooting up so many Jews for no reason, small kids. When each one had to wear a Star of David, so he can distinguish what you are. When he put us in the ghettos, we were treated like dogs. We had to live with 65 calories a day. You could see deaths every day, but it doesn't. Till he put us in the ghettos. And the ghettos was fenced up with electric wires. And every day you could see a couple of people, half a dozen people took their own lives because they had nothing to live for. And finally he decided the ghettos are too good for the Jews. So what he done? He picked all the people out and took them to the railroad station and put them in the railroad station, in the cattle train, and shipped them off. Unfortunately, nobody came back. And after a couple of weeks, he took the middle-aged people, small young couples, the small kids, took them to the railroad station and took away the bicycles, the dolls the kids have played with, and they put them in the cattle train, and closed the doors, without food, without water, without anything to survive. The kids, right away, they went to the gas chambers for no reason whatsoever. But then Auschwitz, Birkenau, in Mr. Joseph Engel, the dead, the man of the dead man, Joseph Mengele. Anybody heard his name? He, with his thumb, he sent millions of people to the camp, to the gas chambers, for no reason whatsoever. The reason was because I was a Jew. I was born into Jewish father and Jewish mother. That's why he hated me so. They hate us so much. People used to come in there to Auschwitz-Birkenau. They used to take away all the clothes. And they gave us some striped clothes. In the wintertime was cold. And we'd have to live with it, whoever survived. Every morning you could see him. Thousands of people on the electric wires took their own life because they had nothing to live for. They took away their children, they took away everybody, then their family, so they had nothing to live for. Time was bitter. They told us we can survive on 60 calories. The young people that took them to the hospital, the castrations, they done all kind of things. You can't imagine what they done to us there. How one people can do to another one. But every day was the same thing. The food was just unbelievable. Can you imagine to survive for 60 calories a day? The beating, the everything, the hate. Thank goodness few of us survived. He couldn't kill everybody. You know what a Holocaust means. A Holocaust means if you take one religion, you wipe it off. No more religion. That's what he wanted to do to the Jews. But he came close to do it. But he didn't do it. Some of us survived. We survived to tell the story. So the world would know about it. Things like that should never happen to anybody, any color. We all God's kids. We all born the same way, to love each other, instead to hate each other. That's what's a pleasure for me to be here. And I do it almost a couple times a week. I go to schools, I go any place. Like I've been doing this for 25, 30 years. So people should know what hate means. Nobody should hate each other. Because if he is black, or he is white, or he is yellow, we all came from the same place. And we should love each other. We should be nice to each other. And I know it better than anybody else that I went through as a Jew. I was beaten every day because of what I am. I was called by my name, all kind of names. All kind of names, everything. So that's why we're here. And not just in Carolina, the whole state, the whole land of the United States. We should love each other. That's a good beginning for other people. And I hope they would follow Mr. Mayor, the police department. That's your first gathering. I hope we have some more gatherings like this. So we can get some more people in, and more people will know about it, and get some advertising. So I want to thank you all for inviting me here. Because I spoke on the same place last year for the law school, right here. So thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Meyer. Thank you, everybody else.
Thank you, Mr. Engel. These things should happen to no one. And this is why we're here, is to share these stories. Our next speaker is Jennifer Benjamin Pinckney.
To Mayor Tecklenburg, to Chief Luther Reynolds in his absence, Deputy Chief Naomi Broughton, to the Charleston Police Department and the Anti-Defamation League for this gracious invitation, to all participants and panelists, to my dear friend, Colin Middleton, and to my two girls who are back at home, who wanted to be here, but of course, homework rules. Good evening. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here today to speak to you about how a hate crime has not only impacted my life, but also the life of my daughters, Eliana and Milan. One never believes tragedy of the magnitude that happened here in Charleston would happen in your back door. We see and we hear about different things on the news, but it's a different feeling when it happens at home. Whenever it happens, we're shocked. Everyone stops and they're just surprised and shocked at what just happened. Why did this happen? We then try to figure out why it happened and what we can do as a community, as a state, to correct the problem. It's one thing to deal with a mass shooting. It brings it to another level when the motive for the death, for the several deaths, is due to hate. It was a senseless crime that took place. Since the tragedy. And all of you are familiar with what happened, the story that took place June 17, 2015, at Mother Emanuel, the shooting that occurred, the lives that were lost, the change that it made in the state, how we felt, and so forth. Our lives will never be the same. My life will never be the same. For after it happened, after any type of tragedy happens, you go through a period of denial. And that's what I did. For many of you who knew Clemente knew that he traveled a lot. He'd be in the Low Country, he'd be in Columbia, he'd be in several different places. And so for me to not see him every evening, it was the norm. And so after the tragedy, when I walked through my bedroom, when I walked in the spot where he parked his vehicle, to me it felt like in the beginning that Clemente was off, handling some business, helping others. You go through a state of denial. I didn't want to believe that Clemente was gone, as many others didn't want to believe it. But reality began to sink in real fast, very early, when we had to go to Mother Emanuel, was accompanied by Kylan, to clean out his office. A very tough thing to do when you're going into the closet and you're pulling out his robes and going through the drawers and pulling out all of his personal belongings. And then I felt it even more about a month or so later when I had to go to his office in Columbia. And at that time, I was assisted by Senator Gerald Malloy. And he had asked several times, do you need me? Do you want me to get someone to clean out Clemente's office? And I said, no. This is something that I need to do. All I requested was that they have some boxes for me to pack Clemente's belongings. And of course, there were several boxes. That was something that I needed to do. Not with Gerald, not with anyone else from the legislative offices, not with my girls, but this was something I needed to do. This was my way of saying goodbye to that office, to the legislature, to all of that, the things that we shared and we talked about and so forth. That was my time. Meanwhile, all of this had happened. I then had to deal with being thrust into the spotlight. Very little time to grieve, because not only was I being thrust into the spotlight, so was Eliana and Milan. And so then you go on protective mode. You then start protecting and watching out for your little ones. And that's what I did. I kept my girls out of the spotlight as much as possible. I kept them away from the media's eye. For media was outside of our doors, I closed all of the blinds. When I was taking my girls to dance, I made sure that I would always check outside to make sure no one was out there. That I can comfortably take my girls to places that they needed to go without being bombarded. Because I knew what it felt like, because I had so many people coming up to me. I had media approaching me. I was walking down the street and having strangers coming up to me. And I did not want my girls to have to deal with that. Because at that time, my youngest was still a little fearful. Remember when it happened, she was 6. I was never the speaker. Clemente was. I was the wind beneath Clemente's wings. I never had to be in the spotlight. For whenever we had to go to a program or a church and so forth, Clemente would always say, ladies, gentlemen, do not ask Jennifer to speak, because she might just look at you, and she won't say anything, and she won't get up. He was very protective, because he knew I was a very shy person, and I still am. Speaking is very difficult for me, but it's something that I have to do. For I know that it's something that is making Clemente very proud, and I know he's laughing at me. Because a microphone is something that I always ran away from. Unlike our girls, we started them at a young age, getting in front of people and speaking in front of crowds and so forth. And so if they were here and I said, Eliana and Milana, come up and speak, and they would be right at home. They remind me of their father. Me, on the other hand, I could sit in the back and be perfectly happy. So being thrust into the spotlight, protecting my girls, becoming a single mother. For when Clemente and I got married, we were a few months shy. The tragedy happened a few months before our 16th wedding anniversary. And Clemente and I, we always had dreams. We had our own individual dreams. We had dreams together, things that we wanted to do, things that we wanted to accomplish, places that we wanted to go, places we wanted to visit, things we wanted to do with our girls. And after the tragedy, I realized that some of the things and places that Clemente and I probably have wanted to do, maybe go to, I may not get to do them. But the dreams and goals that we had for our girls, that's what I get up and go to work for every day. That's why I may do without, because I want to make sure they have it. For I want my girls to be able to continue to do the same things that they did when their father was still living. For the girls took dance when Daddy was alive. For Daddy would be the biggest cheerleader sitting in the audience. If you stumbled on the floor, he didn't care, because that was his job. And to this day, both girls are still dancing. Both girls are still involved in school activities. And yes, being a single mother, our mornings start at 5 o'clock every morning. Drive 40 minutes to work, drop the girls off, then my day begins at work. And if we have activities after school, which is pretty much every day, because I'm now dealing with a 5th grader and a 10th grader. Eliana, we're talking colleges. We're visiting, we're finding out things about colleges and careers and so forth. And Eliana is very busy, very active, very outgoing, as Milana is. And so you need a village to help you out as much as you can. For I have some individuals that I can call on and get Milana to dance, because I don't get off until 4:20. Milana has to be to dance at 5 o'clock. So you seek people that you can trust and that can help you out. For right now this evening, I called my father-in-law. He drove 2 hours so that he can pick up Eliana from high school, so that he can pick up Milana at 9 o'clock tonight after she gets out of dance, so that I can be here. And this is not the first time that I've called on him to come assist. There are times that I've had to call on my sister-in-law to say, last minute, can you stop by real quick and pick up the girls because I'm stuck in a meeting. It takes a village. You're dealing with things around the house. I no longer can say or see Clemente walking through the house and getting the filters, the dirty filters, and replacing them with clean filters. 'Cause I remember the first time I was sitting in Milana's room and I saw him with a trash bag and some filters, and I was like, "What are you doing?" He was like, I'm replacing the filters. You know, it was over a year after the tragedy before I realized that the filters needed to be replaced, because that was something that Clemente would just do. Had problems with my air conditioner. The air conditioner man came. He was like, "Where's your unit?" And I said, he not air conditioner, the hot water. And I told him, I was right, the air conditioner. And so we had to go under the house. And I told him and I said, "Oh, it's under the house. Come on, it's under the house." And the man looked at me and he put on his gear to go up under the house and so forth. And I said, he said, "Ma'am, just point out where I need to go." And I said, "Point out, better yet, I'll show you." And he said, "Ma'am, do you realize we have to go under the house?" And I said, "Yes. So now follow me so that we can go under the house." He said, "Ma'am, I've never had a female that doesn't mind going under the house." I said, "Look, this is my house. I know everything about my house. I've been under my house. Come on, let's go. So I can take you to where you need to go, because I've already been under the house and I've already spotted the problem." I'm a country girl. Of course, he had to order a piece. He told me about it. A week later, another man came. Not the same guy, but a different one. And when he came, I said, "Oh, I've already changed. I'm having some sweats." I pulled my hair up. I said, "Come on, let's go under the house. Let me show you exactly where you need to go." And he was like, "You're the one that my partner was talking about. That's not afraid to go under the house." I said, "Why should I be? It's my house." Things that Clemente would have done. Then again, Clemente wouldn't have gone under the house. Now that I think about it. But those are things that you have to do as a single mother. Just a few of the things that you have to do. There's, like I said, there's little time for me, but the growth and development of my girls is very important to me. Since the tragedy, I still deal with anxiety. I still deal with restless nights. Traveling here to Charleston is a difficult task for me because it brings up the memories the last time I rode in the car with Clemente to Charleston for a meeting before his final Bible study. Sundays are difficult for me because who do you think I expect to see in the pulpit? I relive that night over and over again, and I think about what happened and what could have happened. I've become very cautious of people and my surroundings. And when things at that time had seemed to start settling down, the trial began, and it rehashed and brought everything back to life. As for the girls, in the beginning, they wanted to avoid gatherings. And they came up to me. We were about to get ready and come to a function here in Charleston. And it was for Emmanuel 9. And the girls came up to me and said, "Mama, do we have to go?" Well, of course, I needed to get to the bottom of why they didn't want to go. We need to talk. And I sat them down and I was like, "Talk to Mama, what's wrong?" And their response to me was, every time we go to events like that or like this, they said, people seem like they want to make us cry. They always say, "Oh, I know you're feeling bad," and "oh this," and "oh that." And it's like they want to see us cry. So can you find someone to stay with us and you go? And that was for a while. Now, the girls are stronger and doing well, busy in activities and so forth, and they don't mind going to events. They don't mind speaking about their father. For we talk about Clemente all the time. Clemente's belongings are still there in the house. We've had different events that have taken place at school, and the girls, the other day, it was Spirit Week, and Eliana, it was Nerd Day. And Eliana was going to dress up like a nerd, and she came in the room and said, "Mama, I need a bow tie." And I said, "Go in your daddy's drawer, get your bow tie." For Daddy is still alive in the house. And we talk about Daddy all the time. They want to live a normal life. And I tell them, you can to a certain extent, but you'll always be known as Clemente's daughters. But overall, they're doing well. Their sisters, high school, elementary school, stay out of my room, knock. And if you knock, I still may not open the door. They get into each other's head. They're loving each other one minute, and the next minute, well, you just don't know. But they are doing well. It's hard to walk in someone else's shoes. For when tragedy strikes, you can sympathize. Your heart goes out. But how does losing a loved one, especially due to hate crime, how does it affect you? Clemente and I, we never taught our girls to hate, regardless of their nationality, political affiliation, their ideologies, their sexual orientation, gender, disabilities, and so forth. So how do you explain to a then 11-year-old and 6-year-old the hate demonstrated by an individual that doesn't look like them killed their father? For many of you knew Clemente, and you knew he was a very humble person. He was a spiritual man. He loved the Lord, and he loved people. But due to a hate-filled crime, a hate-filled individual, the voice of my husband and 8 others have been silenced. The lives of 5 survivors and all of the victims' families have been altered. What if your parent or one of your parents was gunned down because of their religion? What if your brother or your sister or another family member was slaughtered because of their gender? What if your spouse or your significant other sexual orientation? What if your friend